Great products are built by great teams. That is very true. Championships are won by great teams, but great teams are made up of ordinary people.
My guest today launched a product that generated $32 million in the first 90 days using a technique that is more powerful than marketing user stories or acceptance criteria or even PRD. Christian Idiodi is a partner in the Silicon Valley Group working alongside the father of product manager himself, Marty Keegan. Christian is a renowned product leader known for transforming complex problems into successful products for companies like Starbucks and McDonald's. In this episode, Christian shares his deep understanding of customer discovery, the importance of tackling real problems, and the power or effective team collaboration, and how to start a career in product management in a market when there is not a lot of junior positions. But let us start with the most important question first. What are the main responsibilities of a product manager? Because every company seems to define product manager differently.
Yeah, well, also every company is different and they work differently. And if you think about the history of product management, I think a lot of the popularity happened in the 90s when many VCs were giving people money. And when they're giving you money for your company, you say, what are you going to do with the money? Most people will say, I want to build my business. I want to build my product. And there was this question of who is deciding what gets built? Who is deciding what actually gets built there? And I think it really elevated the product management role when money came into it, right? Lots of funding. It's like there's a decision about what we build. Who is making that decision? And I think this is the real crux of what the core of product management is. If you really think about why it's challenging in many companies, is many companies truly don't need product managers because they're not really focused on solving problems. They are focused on delivering a project. So if you're going to deliver a project, then you need a project manager. But if you want to solve a problem, if you want to create an outcome, then it makes a lot of sense for you to need a true product manager. Because, I always like people to think about it as different sports. Because part of why many product managers are frustrated and many companies are frustrated with product management is because they don't understand the relevance. You might be coming in like, I am here to solve a problem, but they use you like a factory worker to deliver a project. On the other hand, the company may be looking for somebody that can bring a deep knowledge of the customer and the business to make good decisions, but that person only knows how to deliver a project. So there's this mismatch. Really at the core of what a product manager is on a team is they're ensuring that whatever we do is worth doing, is valuable. People will choose it, people will buy it, people will use it, and that it works for our organization, that we get something back in return, we can sell it, we can market it, it's legal. And they are working collaboratively with other people to tackle all of the risk in doing something. And that's really what the job is. It's misunderstood in many companies and underutilized and maybe abused by some others. But I think there's an opportunity to really reclaim what the pure definition of the discipline is.
And what do you think the difference between a feature team and a product team?
Well, I mean, on one end, one serves the business. On the other end, one serves your customer. But really what differentiates them is two ways. What they are given. So a future team is given a roadmap of features and projects to go deliver. Mahmoud, build me a new app. Mahmoud, build me this API. Mahmoud, deliver this feature. You're given something to do. That's kind of a future team. You may even have designers. You may be cross-functional. You just design and deliver what you've been given to do. A product team, which we like to call an empowered product team, is given problems to solve. That's the first score of it. First of all, I always say this is a cross-functional team of competent people, because if you don't have the competency, meaning the skills on the team, then maybe you still are probably not a product team. It's like you might just have titles, so you might still miss the point. So competent people, but you're given a problem to solve. What makes you empowered is that it's up to you to decide the best way to go about solving that problem. And you're not measured on, did you deliver something? Did you ship a code? You're measured on actually what? Results. Solving the problem. So rather than me saying, go build a mobile app, Mahmoud, I say, go increase revenue. You might think to yourself, one of the ways I can increase revenue is to build a mobile app. If you build the mobile app and revenue does not increase, you see the solution has failed and the problem still exists. A real product team understands my job is not done. I need to now discover what will increase revenue. So I need to try something else really quickly because my job is not to deliver the mobile app. My job is to increase revenue. So that's the big difference between a real empowered product team and what most companies have as future teams.
I work with a lot of companies here in Dubai, and many product managers find themselves stuck in a feature team. And what advice or tactic would you give to those product managers when their superiors assign them a feature to build or a task to complete?
Well, remember, we have to help our organizations and leaders really connect with what they really want. And remember, if I'm telling you go build this, there is a reason I want you to build this, you know. And many times, many companies don't give that context. They don't give that clarity to their team. So the best thing you can do is fish for it. If I say, Mohammed, build me a mobile app, you know, your first reaction should not be like, oh, you're telling me what to do. No, you're spoiling the whole stuff for me. You know, I always tell people that the technique I teach people is, I want you to always say, that's a great idea. And the reason I say that is because you got to do two things. One, there's no better place in a company to go to with ideas than the product team, than the product manager. Where in your company should people go with ideas? So you want to extend, but you see, I call it an idea so that I can relax us to have a good conversation. It's not direction, it's not by, but it's a good idea. Everybody has, it's a good idea to them at the very least. So you want to be a welcoming, embracing place. Then the real question here is, I want to make sure we succeed when we do this. So what's the problem you're trying to solve? And how we measure success, how we know we've succeeded. So you see what I'm doing there is I'm turning that feature request into a problem to solve. Because the reason you're asking me for a mobile app, you say, why do you really want a mobile app? You know, well, because all of our customers are asking it. So are you saying this is to get more customers? Is it to make them happy? Is it to improve their satisfaction? Is it to retain them, right? Because what if I built the mobile app and none of those things happen? Would you be happy? You see? So you want to get to the root of it. So you know, and what you're training people to do here is that they're thinking to themselves. Because how many times have you built something and then you're like, why are my stakeholders not happy? Sales is too, they will be, I miss the future, he's missing. It's because you haven't really solved the root problem. You've just delivered what they thought would solve the problem. So I always thought it's not about what I do. It's what will happen when I have done it that you really care about. We call that the outcome. So I kind of want to know what that is. So please, you know, don't feel bad. Like if you're in a future team, many people feel it's helpless, a given roadmap. You kind of say, look, nobody even controls your roadmap. You do. They might ask you for a roadmap, but never tell people what you're going to do without telling them why. You know, make that a rule on your team. So building a mobile app, put beside it to increase revenue, to improve satisfaction. You see? And what you're trying to tell people is like, look, it's not about all these little activities. They may come and go, they may fail, all these features, but there's something we really want. And my job is not to deliver the future, but to get us that something, that outcome.
I love this tactic. So when Roger comes to me with a great idea, I was like, it's a great idea, but what problem are we trying to solve and how we're going to measure it?
That's right. That's right. And
That's
you're
so
just
simple.
right. Yeah. It's very simple because that's what you can. That's why you need a product manager. You don't need me if it was just to deliver the idea. I mean, you could even skip me, go straight to engineer. Why don't you just give them the requirement? Because now all I am is a translator in chief or a gatherer of what you're saying. You know, like if you wanted to talk to somebody to just build something, you don't need me. Are you saying? Because then my job is just to ensure whatever you say gets communicated to the people that are doing it and to deliver it on time or to make it technical. That's not valuable. What's valuable is to ensure, to make sure I discover what the real problem is and ensure that this solution solves it.
Ah, that's an amazing advice. Let me ask you something. It's something I'm guilty of. So I love product management as a literature, and I love product discovery. And there is sometimes I get lost with all of those cool, amazing frameworks. And I've seen your one of I've seen a podcast of you where you said that all of you need is a reference customer. And I was like, that's a sales term. Why do I need to care about it? I'm a product manager. Can you define what's a reference customer?
Yeah, I mean, look, the way I kind of describe it is like eh, every company in the world probably starts off as a production company, meaning the first hire a company makes is not the salesperson. You kind of want to build something or solve a problem. So you kind of start off with a product mindset. Like almost every startup, I don't know of any startup that was just like, my first hire was a salesperson. You're like, to sell what? We don't have anything. Like, unless you're like a service in that way. But products come from solving a problem. So companies kind of lose their way when they've solved the problem. They want to capture value, hire a lot of salespeople, grow. Then the salespeople know everything about the customer, and then the salespeople kind of take the power from product and start telling product what to do. That dynamic changes over time. The reality here is the very first customer any company has is kind of a reference customer, because they use that customer to get the next customer. Because I will ask you, who's using your app? Mahmoud. You say, oh, Christian is using my app. You're like, oh, I know him. He's great. Okay, if he's using it, I should use it too. Then you use that to get more customers. Kind of like, the more customers you get, the more you will get. A reference customer is really somebody that has the problem that you're trying to solve, has used your solution to solve the problem, and is willing to tell other people about it. So when you go to the App Store and you see the reviews, all of those are references. But that doesn't mean they are a good reference customer, because a one-star review is not a great review. That they are saying something bad about your customer. So every 5-star person is a good reference. If somebody asks you, how is your app? You're not going to advertise all the 1-star reviews. You will advertise all your 5-star reviews. Look at all these people that look like you that are using my product. The goal of the reference customer kind of technique is you want to create those first people. So if I am building any new app, if you've ever seen me work on an app, the first day I launch the app in the App Store, I will have 25 5-star reviews on day one.
25.
25 in B2C. In B2B, 6 to 8 is all I need. But okay. 25. And what? So like the first that, hey, there's a new app around this. You go and look at it. You're going to start to scroll. Look at this. 5-star review, maybe 4.9. You'd be like, this is cool. It's great. Now, the question is, how did I create those first 25? I cannot put the app in production and then have random people come around and give, because they may all be missing something, not like something, not give me a 5-star review. So I have to discover who the ideal customer is. I have to develop my relationship with them, discover what their problems are, and then deliver a solution to their problem at the same time. So the technique is this customer discovery technique, or this reference customer program or customer development program. So, if my app is to help you get to work in the morning, or, navigation, I will go to you and say, are you having trouble going to work in the morning? You say, yes. I say, well, if I spend time, if I solve this problem for you, Mahmoud, are you willing to tell people about it? Of course. I mean, if you really help me get to work in the morning, and I say, okay, I'm going to come and I'm going to go to work with you every day, and I'm not going to quit until I solve this problem for you. Now, I might need to talk to 50 people to find 25 that will end up loving what I do. But that whole technique of pushing it, putting myself in your environment, in your pain every day, is going to accelerate our discovery. You're like, why are you hanging out with Mahmoud? I'm trying to help him get to work on time. Every day I'm building things in my app. So what about this? What if we try this? We are doing it together. I'm kind of using you to build the product. At the end of this, you'll be like, my goodness, first of all, it feels like my app. I built this with you. And you're like, it's your baby now. Are you going to put your reputation? Oh man, I will tell everybody about it. Review number 1, you see? And I have more people. Now, what you're doing here is you're working out all of the issues. You're discovering all of the problems. you are accelerating all of the validation, all of the testing. Because once you put yourself in this, what I call it a pressure cooker environment, many things start to become very clear for you, you see? So this technique is the most powerful technique for me for two reasons. One, first of all, if I cannot find 25 people that have this problem, it may not be a problem worth solving. Like, why do if because my app is meant to help millions of people come to work, and I can't find 25 people that care about the problem to work with me about it? Why? It's a demand signal. It gives me some inclination, like I have missed the mark on this problem. This may only be Mahmoud's problem because there are not many people around that care about it so much. Are you seeing? So I get a natural pivot. I pivot away from the problem because I didn't find demand. It's also easy because I kind of know when I have achieved product market fit. Because sometimes, many people have no, how do you know your product is ready? For this, I say, when I have 25 five-star reviews, I am ready to go to market, launch crazy. Because there's no question that I will not have answers to at that point. How do I market it? I don't need to guess. I ask my customers, why do you love it? Tell me why you use it. I write down what they put on the box. How do we sell it? How did you buy it? What price? You see, I would have figured out pricing. I would have figured, because everybody in that reference program, I have done tests and validation with all the legal issues, marketing. I would have figured that out. So once I get 25 B2C, I am ready. If I get 6 to 8 for B2B, I'm ready. And those are very powerful. It's very clear to me what I'm trying to do. It is the fastest way for me, because what it ensures that I do is that I do not forget to tackle the risk of value. Many frameworks don't directly tackle the value question, which is, would you buy this? Would you choose this if you had a choice? And would you actually use it? You see? Because many of those techniques, you're like, oh, I like it. It looks good. Oh, I click, I can use it. But like when push comes to shove, will you put your hand in your pocket and pull out your money and use it? What this technique does, it ensures that I've actually had 25 people really buy it. So I don't have to guess. My goal now is like, if I can find people that look like this 25, I have evidence that they will buy, and I have a message for what it to take. You see?
This is the most powerful tool. I couldn't agree more. But let me ask you this. Where do you find, you mentioned B2C is 25, B2B 6 to 8. For B2C, let's say, where do you find those 25? Do you create a landing page, drive traffic to? Do you go to Starbucks? How many techniques do you have to find those 25?
Yeah. So remember, first you want to identify a problem, right? And part of why I like this technique, what I tell people, they don't like to hear it all the time. I say, your customers don't care about you. The customers don't wake up in the morning and be like, oh, my dear, Master Mahmoud, how are you? I'm missing you in my life. They don't really think about you. They only care about you to the extent that you meet their needs, to the extent that you solve their problem. So it's like, so what I always say is, if you care about the problem, you will find the people. So if you're like focused on solving the problem, so if I guess the example I'm using is like helping people go to work in the morning, and I really care about helping people get to work on time. That's the problem I'm thinking in my head. Because I come to you and I say, that is all. I am going to not just find you, I will find your friends, I will find anybody. Now, there are many techniques for recruiting customers or finding customers for this. One of the things I easily do is I take $100, I go buy Google AdWords. And a AdWord I might buy is, how can I get to work on time? Tips for beating traffic. You see what I'm buying? So that I know the second somebody types in that word, first of all, I'm catching you exactly when you're frustrated. I need a solution to get to work on time. Then you see my link. Are you interested? I want to help you get in work on time. Are you seeing? So I can buy Google AdWords. I can go onto like Reddit, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of these things. And join communities. Find, is there a subreddit of people upset about going to, join that community and those conversations. These are people already talking about the problem. It's painful enough that they've gone from thinking about it to taking action on it, looking for solutions. Okay, the kinds of customers you want are very unique. in this world, because you're looking for early adopters. But in technology, there are two types of early adopters. We have the technologists, right? And we have the early evangelists. And the way I describe it, technologists may be people like, you see the iPhone 17 is about to come out. You like the new technology, you get a prototype, whatever it is, then you go online and you write iPhone 17, 5 cameras, super fast, easy to use. You see, you like new technology, you're reviewing the new technology. Okay? In early evangelists, maybe people that's like, well, I have an iPhone 15 now with 3 cameras. I look good, but the iPhone 17 I hear will have 5 cameras. Wow, I'm going to look amazing. So they go and they line up outside the Apple store. You see?
True.
You don't
Yeah.
sleep outside the Apple store. You're like, is there something I'm missing here? Why are they spending hours upon hours in the Apple store waiting? I can't wait. They feel a little irrational. That's who you want. That's who you want. The people that the problem feels too much for them, that they would try anything. Like I kind of do the example of like, the people that will always try any new restaurant. I'm a foodie, kind of stuff like that. Nobody has, because you have people that are the first people that go to a restaurant. They just love food in that way. But you have people that are picky, like, oh, I need to read the reviews. Does it have this? They have questions. So the people that feel a little irrational about the problems that they have, that they are willing to try something, anything, to solve it. That's who you're looking for. So look for the problem first of all. Join communities of the problem. You're not trying to find people. You're trying to find the problem. And if you care about the problem, you find the people, because you give me permission to talk to you because I care about your problem. I'm not there with myself. You're like, you're really trying to help me get to work on time? Really? Like, okay, I was just saying I hate that problem, you see? So you will now give me access to like, okay, what do you have in mind? What are you thinking? But if I will just kind of tell me about you, let me diagnose you, do you really fit? You're going to now be qualifying people. So care about the problem first. You find the people, join communities, do a tremendous amount of validation and testing with those groups. You want to, because part of what you're discovering is what the customer profile looks like. I want to know, is there something unique about you, so that, because I'm going to be looking for you in the future. Who are these kind of people? So you don't, there are many techniques people use. Some people like to do all kinds of studies or stuff, but you want to identify who has the problem. At the same time, what's unique about those people in your discovery.
So first step, identify the problem. Second step, join communities where people have the same problem and talk to them. Now I want to double take how to talk to them, because me included, we're not really people person. I'm shy. When I approach someone, sometimes I appear too salesy, or I have like a list of 10 questions and the interview seems very robotic. What is the best way to interview those, like for the first 25 people?
I do tell people you're not going to get mastery or better at this stuff by yeah.
Oh,
You if you want to get better at talking to people, you got to talk to people. I tell people I make discovery like a lifestyle for me, and I practice in my everyday life. I'm that person. I get into an Uber, I'm quiet, I'm nice in the background. The driver wants to talk. Discovery on. I'm gonna do some discovery.
oh, please teach me.
I mean, you get into the Uber and the person is like, "How are you doing today?" I say, "I'm great. How are you?" Whatever my business is, I start to ask them questions about that problem. So I say, "Oh, how do you get to work in the morning? What do you use to get to work in the morning? What kind of apps do you use? You have a computer at home. Tell me about your stuff." You see, but I sit on an airplane, I put on my headphones. The person is like, "Hey, how are you?" I say, "Oh, that person wants to talk." You're inviting conversation, discovery on. Or the headphones. We say, look, my friends don't even come to my house for a barbecue or a cookout without being suspicious, because I'm that guy. You're like, "So how are you doing?" I say, I see you with your beer. Where do you get your beer? What's your favorite beer? Tell me, are you seeing? I'm making discovery a lifestyle, the curiosity, the ability to learn and pull information from people. You got to feel very comfortable doing that. And there is a curiosity mindset. Unfortunately, the way many people approach customer discovery or talking to customers is selfishly, meaning I want something from you. I want your insights. I want your knowledge. I want to hear your problem. I want your validation and stuff. And that can feel time consuming for many people. Like, oh my gosh, I'm just here answering questions, and you might feel like too structured. The favorite ways to immerse yourself in a problem is by one, asking to either help themselves. Like if I were building, I don't know, something for a farmer in their stuff, I would go in and say, let me work with you. What? You're going to help me? Yeah, I'm a free hand. But you know what's going to happen is, one, I'm going to be experiencing the problem with you, which gives me a deeper understanding of the problem. Two, there's no way we are working together that we don't talk to each other. Like, so how are you? Oh, don't do it this way. Move the, are you see? So imagine if you're approaching every conversation from the lens of, I want to help or I want to learn, versus I need something from you, which is what people kind of go into the conversation with that mindset. Do you have a few minutes to answer some questions for me? This is what I want. This is kind of structure like that. If I came in with a curious man, I say, hey, Mahmoud, how do you get to work in it? Is there any problem with that? So I want to know, are you who I think you are? Do you have the problems I think you do? How do you solve the problem today? And what would it take for you to change behavior, for you to switch? So I'm going in with that context in my mind. So remember, I'm not looking for you to tell me what to build. The reasons I interact with customers, there are probably only three key reasons. One, I want to have a deep understanding of who you are, your pain, your attributes, kind of stuff. Two, I want to stimulate some ideas for how to solve the problem. So the more I can understand your day-to-day, your psychographic kind of stuff, the better my solution will be. And three, I want to validate or test whatever solution I have come up with. It actually solves your problem. You see, like, so it depends on why I'm with you. If I already have a solution and I want to validate and test, then I'm approaching this differently. You see, I'm making sure you can use the solution. Then I'll make sure that you will choose it and you will use it because I've already built it and I already know it's going to make me money or some validation in that sense. So it really depends on the interaction. If it's the very beginning, I'm just trying to identify who you are, then we're just going to keep having casual conversations. Like, that's just people. If you ever go to, like, I don't know, any bank, hospital, all the forms you fill out. If you ask yourself, like, is that not crazy? Why am I filling out? So they can ask you any question in the planet, you will sit and do it. Why? Because you have a problem. And that is where you solve it. You see, caring about a problem is permission enough for people to do work. Some ways problems are even solved are painful, like getting a driver's license in the US is a pain. You stand in line, it's a painful process. The DMV, everybody talks about that nightmare for years. But is there anything that anybody is like, I'm not going to go? Because guess what? When you want a driver's license, you are going to go. And you're going to go through the pain of going through that because you have a problem. I need a driver's license. The solution to that problem is there. So, I always tell people will go through hoops. People will share freely. People will talk if they genuinely believe that you are trying to solve a problem. If they genuinely believe that you care about their problem. What we often do is like, you're wasting my time making me talk about my problem, but you're not going to do anything about it. You're just going to just asking me questions. But if you go with that mindset, like, all right, I kind of want to help you do this. I need this information to help you. Then somebody is going to give you information to help them. And if they don't, if they are not forthcoming, if they are not sharing that stuff, two things may be true. One, you have not properly defined the problem that they can connect with. And two, there's no real trust in that dynamic that you're going to solve the problem or that you care enough about it. So recalibrate, go back to building relationships, explain who you are and share story. I do a lot of discovery in every part of my life. It's a lifestyle. That's kind of what I want people to feel.
I'm gonna use this advice every time I'm in an Uber or a plane. I'm gonna start asking questions because it's a muscle.
It's a muscle. Once you find it's easy, once you actually have to do discovery, you just be like, there's no difference between this and the conversation I had in the Uber, because customers are just humans. You know, the second we call them customers, we put them in a crazy box. And I mean, you're a customer of Google and Amazon. I mean, those are real big companies, but you've shopped there, so you're a customer. You know, you are probably more valuable than the customer of a big enterprise company to these very big brands. So if you don't get good at talking to humans, forget calling them customers, then you'll not get good at talking to customers, because that's all just a fancy word for humans.
And when you're talking to customers or those first 25, are you looking for patterns or are you looking for hotspots or
Yes.
emotion or high emotions?
Well, kind of what I actually look for. I'm looking for stories in
Oh,
my head. So you know, I like as a planning technique. Say I like a user story map, or as an
okay.
example. So remember, we're playing with this idea of building an app to help you get to work on time. So what will I say to you? I'll say, hey, Mahmoud, how do you get to work today? You see, so as you're telling me your story, I am identifying the pattern so that when I talk to somebody else, I can see the commonality between their story and your story. Many people create a persona and then tell a story. And I've always found that to be flawed in discovery, because I'm like, really? You know, what I like to do is tell a story and then create the persona from it. Because the second I say Mahmoud, everybody should know the story of Mahmoud. He goes to work by helicopter. He has a Rolls Royce. You see, that's what's unique about it. When I call another person's name, they'll be like, they can, because that's the story that helps inform the decisions you make about how you solve the problem. And that's the magic in it. So I am looking for patterns. I am looking for consistent patterns. What's unique about you? Because that affects when you ask for something weird. I'm just like, you know, why? I don't want to be like, oh, it's just Mahmoud. I want to be like interested. Do people that come to work in helicopter want this? So I go to another person that has a helicopter, and I find out if they want the same thing like you do. Are you seeing? Because that's the kind of validation you want to do very quickly. But in this technique, because you're immersing yourself in the problem, you will uncover some of this very quickly. You know, you will come out knowing who your ideal customer is and who it isn't. Yeah.
I have a question. You mentioned a problem, solving a problem. Uh, there's many companies, startups that I've worked with. And even I used to work in a company where we don't have a sharp problem. It was a nice to have, and it was such a drag to get customers. And it was really hard to build products. Do you face such startups, and what's your advice for them?
Well, yeah, I kind of stop. The top where I don't even invest in companies anymore. I invest in founders or people with the right mindset that can create the right environment. Because I've found like, you know, good product companies or leaders or teams, uh, they will naturally pivot. You know, they will naturally, like, because like I said, the problem validation and identification and definition is important. So like if they are struggling, you know, to find customers, it's like maybe the problem is not there. Maybe I haven't articulated or defined the problem well enough. But if you're really spending time with the human, then you should uncover what the real problem is. We think it is frustrating. They might say it just takes too long. You know, we say, you know, like you might be thinking something, they might be feeling something else. Are you seeing? So you, what you want to do is make sure you know what that feeling is, what they might be feeling, and then you want to bring that in. So you might naturally just pivot into the right problem if you're thinking about it the right way. You know, uh, many people overly kind of have this, should I fall in love with the problem type of, the magic is solving the problem and doing it so cool that people will be like, I will can't wait. I'll pay $1 billion to get my hands on that solution. Right. So yes, you see it a lot where people struggle with, you know, finding customers because the problem is not well defined. But I say, well, if this is your real customer, then you should care about what problems they really do have, and you should uncover that. Forget the one you've been given, because what you're doing is you're just testing. I don't just walk with you and say, "Do you have this problem?" I want to know all about you. And if this is one of the problems you have, I want to know how you describe it, how it's valid. You know, I want to validate the problem before I test my solution. Many people just go in testing the solution and they're like, it's not working. I'm like, but they don't have the problem. So of course it's not going to make sense. You can, if you don't have a headache and I keep giving you aspirin and ibuprofen, you're like, it's okay. You see, but if you do have a headache and I give you aspirin, you'd be like, wow, I feel great. Because you had a problem and it solved the problem. So if you cannot define the problem well, then your solutions are going to fall short.
You need to be humble or to admit that we're not solving a problem. And the problem with startup founders, they're very charismatic and they can convince everyone, even investors and employees, no, we're gonna go through it, even there's no problem. And that's very scary.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we love that in entrepreneurs and invest and founders. That kind of passion and hunger to do so. You got to redirect it to meaningful problems because if they fall in love with the right problem, then they're gonna bring that hunger to it. Sometimes they make their problems everybody else's problem.
There's one startup that you started, which is where you first launched, this company booked $32 million in
Oh
sales.
yes, yes. Oh yeah. Well,
How, I can't wait to hear the story. $32 million in sales, that's just insane. Those are
yeah.
insane numbers.
Well, I mean, it started by a head of staffing at Starbucks calling me, and he said, he has a problem, and he called me because I've used this technique with him out of a previous company. So what he knows is like, this is who I go to when I have a problem. You see it. I kind of tell people that you will find people when you get doing this enough. So he calls me up and said, "Man, we have a problem." I said, "Well, don't we all have problems? What's going on?" He said, "Well, we just bought a bakery. Like Starbucks acquired a new company, and as they are doing the paperwork for this company, they realized that about 800 of the employees are undocumented. They don't have their papers, and so the big challenge is not even the PR. Oh my goodness, Starbucks has undocumented workers. That could be a nightmare. But mostly, legally they have to get everybody's papers to take over the company. And when they ask all these people for papers, they're all gonna quit. So now they have a whole company or bakery without employees." And I say, "Oh boy, okay." My first thing I even said to him as a product manager, I said, "Would you pay me $1 million to solve the problem?" I throw out big crazy numbers like that. He's like, "That's crazy." I'm throwing out like, "What about 300,000?" He said, "Maybe." Now, what am I doing? I'm just checking the magnitude and the importance of the problem to that executive. I'm like, it's an important enough problem that 300,000 did not scare him. You see, now I don't have a solution. I just said, "You know what? I will call you back." I went to my CEO just to get him excited about, like, I just had this call. I don't really know much. I took an engineer and a designer. You see what I always tell people, these are two very different kinds of people. You think about an engineer as a left brain concrete person and a designer as a right brain abstract person. If you put them together, you can get better thinking. Many people always just run to the engineer without the other. But I pull them because I need people to think about this with me. I'm thinking about what's good for the business, what's good for the customer. The designer is thinking about what kind of experiences will make this work. The engineer is thinking about what technology, what feasibility will have. The first thing we have to do is to try to define the problem. I mean, I tell them the call, but I was saying, what really is the problem here? We break it down and say, at the end of the day, Starbucks needs to hire 800 people right now. Like, they are going to lose 800 people. There's nothing you can do to fix that, right? So yeah. So we are thinking, who else has this problem? We say, well, why are we in the office? Let's get out of the office. Everybody gets in my car. We start driving around town. That's how we're doing our discovery, because your thinking is different when you're outside the office. We are pointing to businesses. What about this company? What about, see, we are brainstorming. You're out of your work environment. You're now in the real world environment. So your thinking is stimulated. We are walking out plazas and stuff. We see a new construction sign for new McDonald's opening soon. We're like, that might be interesting. I mean, you got to hire, at least 10 people, 20 people for a new McDonald's. We go start talking to people. The operations director for the McDonald's is on site. And, we're talking to him. He says, "Whoa, do you know, like, I need about 120 people on opening day?" That blew our mind, because we're like, it's a McDonald's. Like, there cannot be 120 people working on it. And he says, half of them will not even show up on the first day of job. We're like, what? That you know, we're learning about the industry that way. He's like, look, every day we're in construction, it's costing us money. We're losing money. So the second, like the soonest that the bathrooms or the washrooms are built, we want to open up the McDonald's. So we just in our head are like, oh, a new construction, like a new McDonald's, you need to hire a lot of people very quickly. You see, we are learning that. But you know, okay, we say thank you. I give him my business card. He takes his. We keep walking out. We even go to the mall. We are talking to businesses. You see, we are doing a whole day out. We are learning and validating. We talk to a big retailer. They tell us in the holiday season they have to hire like 20,000 people for all of their stores. So all we just succeeded in doing that day was validating that this is a real problem with some real examples of use cases or customers. Now we get back to the office. We're like, we don't even know how somebody will solve a problem like this. But you know, that McDonald's guy we spoke to was very desperate. So we're brainstorming, okay, how will we help him? So we're like, maybe he wants to hire people quickly. Let's send him people to hire. So I had his number. I called him up. I said, hey, we just met a few hours ago. Can we help you solve your problem? He said, oh, okay, what do you have in mind? We said, well, maybe we send you a few people to interview on Monday. He says, okay, how do I pay for this? You know, we had like thrown out ideas. We said, maybe you pay us for everybody you hire. You know, he's thinking to himself, like, oh, there's not a lot of risk to me. Like, you know, if I like somebody, I pay. If I don't like, I don't have. He's like, this is good. He kind of
Great.
stuff like that. He's like, sure. We don't have a clue of what to do. We don't have technology or anything. So I mean, we are
Wow.
literally on Google, Googling how do people find jobs at McDonald's. You know, we like you just have no sense of. But what we're doing is we care about this person's problem, and we are focused on trying everything. Remember, the engineer and designer are with me. They are doing everything manually. We are calling up people. We go to local university. We put up flyers in the dorm. New McDonald's is around you. We go to we are every channel we think about. Try it because we don't know what's going to work. You know, we put a little budget aside, like let's, you know, we can spend some money to try this kind of technique in that way to see what's going to work. We get about 40 people on a list by the end of the week, like that have said, oh, I applied, I'm interested in working in McDonald's. We say, hey, Monday come for an interview. Come at this time, at this time, at this time. Monday comes, we all go on site. The designer, the engineer, we're all there in person. 9 o'clock, we expect 3 people to show up. Nobody shows up. We're like, okay, maybe there's traffic, maybe it's a rough day, you know, what's going on. 10 o'clock, we expect like 3, another 3, 1 person shows up. Like we go through the day, less than 20 people come. This man only hires like 4 people, 5. We're like, wow, we are terrible at this. You know, we need to go and apologize for wasting his time because he's there with all of his team and his different managers to interview people. He told me 40 people. We go, let us go and apologize. The man starts laughing. Well, we say, what's going on? He said, oh, I forgot to tell you. People do not show up to interviews as well. He's like, this is McDonald's. We pay minimum wage. People will leave us for 25 cents more an hour. People will leave us for a job that is 1 block, 1 mile closer to their house. Like it's people don't show up for interview. People don't even start on day 1. They will just leave without even telling you anything. You know, it's how, wow. As we're even driving back to the office, the engineer is already doing some mental analysis of the day. He says, you know, about half of the people showed up. He hired like 1 in 4, 1 in 5. If we really want to solve this problem, we probably need to send him like 200 people, a lot of people, because many of them will not show, he will not hire all of them. So we said to ourselves, should we try again? We said, why not? Let us try again. So I called the man up. I said, look, can we try again next Monday? Maybe we send you some people. He says, so do I only pay for the people I hire? We say, yes. He said, go ahead and kill yourself. Try it. Good luck. He's like, many people, we have tried and failed in many places. Good luck with you on this. But we have some data from our last trial. We can see which channels work. You know, putting stickers on university, oh, that didn't work. Or this channel was a good channel. We double that. We start calling up all the job seekers. Why didn't you show up for an interview? Were you lost? Did you need directions? Did you have another conflict? You know, oh, was it not clear? What time are you seeing? We are learning. We double down on what we are working and stuff. We get like almost 130 people on the list. We send it to the manager, say, this coming Monday now, we'll send you 130 people. You know, it's like that's a bigger number. The night before, we start calling up all the people. Please, please come to the interview. Don't embarrass us. Like, what do you need? You know, do I need to send you a drive? Do I call your mom? Do I tell your dad to help you? You see, we're kind of begging them, like, please come. You know, don't embarrass us anymore. We we go on site the next day. In just that one day, this man hires close to 50 people because all the calls, the reminders, all the things we're tackling, all the risks people had. He comes to us, he shakes our hand, he's like, wow, great job. All of my managers were busy. Everybody had clarity on what to expect. People even knew your name, kind of stuff. The engagement. I want to use you for every new McDonald's I open in the area. We're like, wow, okay. We're like, look, don't get me wrong. We don't have a product. We just know we can help one McDonald's person. That is not scaling at all. But I felt like I have some learning, you know? So I call up my friend at Starbucks. I said, hey, bud, you know, I know it's been a couple of weeks, but I want to help you with that problem we talked about. He said, oh, what do you have in mind? I said, well, I think we need to send you close to 3,000 people to interview. He said, 3,000 people? He said, Christian, I only need 800. I say, you know, in this industry, most of them don't show up for interview, right? And he says to me, he said, oh my goodness, you know this industry well. You're like an industry expert. I will talk to my team. We will give you this contract. You see, I just discovered something that I can use to. So I take my team, we fly to San Francisco where this is. We are on site using all of the things we just learned, manually going through this whole process. In 1 week, Starbucks hires like 784 people. 1 week of doing this. I get an email then from my contact at Starbucks the following week. He copied Howard Schultz, the then CEO of Starbucks, and the email read, these guys just saved our butts. In it. Now I took that email, sent it to my CEO, sent it to my head of sales, head of marketing. All I did, I said, let's have a conversation. Let me tell you about how I helped a McDonald's and a Starbucks. I don't have a product, but I think we may have something here. I need to identify more people that have problems like this. Are you seeing? More problems but what I have now is I have a sense. Restaurant people, you know, Starbucks, you see, it's a common pattern. But really the problem is high volume hiring in a short window of time. I need to hire a lot of people very quickly. You know, the next opportunity I get was a disaster. It was a Los Angeles International Airport. They were opening up a new terminal. They're like, okay, we need 200 people to run all of the new stores that we're going to have in this terminal. We are like 200 people. Man, we just hired almost 800. We got this. But when we go to the briefing with the director of the airports, they tell us the people that work at an international airport have to match the demographics of the travelers. We say, I'm sorry, what does that mean? So we have 3% Chinese-speaking travelers. We need 3% Chinese-speaking employees. We say, what? We have 10% French-speaking travelers. We need 10% French-speaking employees. Are you seeing? We are like, this is very different. This is not just anybody that wants a job. We now have to profile the percentage. So we are traveling there. We are in Chinatown, in different places. I mean, we expect them people to show up for an interview. Only one will come. When we call the job seekers, they say, it's crazy. Do you want me to work at an airport? First, I wake up at 5:30, drive to the employee parking lot, get on the bus, takes me to the airport. I have to go through security to go to work and stuff. And then I need a break. I go through security again, and then you pay me minimum wage. So many people were turned off by it. My friend, it took me like 3 months, 90 days to staff this airport. I had to negotiate with the union to increase the fees. I mean, it was a painful dilemma. By the time we got back to the office, we said, oh, airports are the devil. We had never touched it again. Bad customer. Are you seeing? But what are we identifying? We are knowing who our customer is not. By this time, it was the holiday season. We are working with a retailer. As I'm doing all of this, I want you to understand everybody's role on it. The designer is thinking, what is the experience look like for everybody? You know, the recruiters need a way to see all the things. You need a job seeker experience, a recruiter experience, a manager experience. The engineer is thinking, how can I use technology to improve this? Oh, you know, I need a way to get all the applications, maybe a way to schedule the interviews. I need a way to maybe text notification to show people, oh, I should integrate with Google Maps so that people can get directions for their interview. Are you seeing? I didn't have to communicate to them, write a story or write requirements to the engineer, but you can see they were involved with me from the beginning, all through the process. Sales, marketing, they knew all about this discovery. They were the ones giving me new customers to test on. I have this problem. Oh, that's not right. I have an airport. No, we don't do airports. I have this. That sounds good. You know, like if you ever go to a big event, like maybe a show, Taylor Swift concert, you know, all of those staff that works the event, and you have to hire a lot of people quickly for that event, and they all go away. Perfect kind of product for that. You know, you're going to a F1 race, they have all the security people. That's a lot of people in a short amount of time. So they need some way to manage some of those things, and this product became great fit for. We're identifying who did it. I say it took me like 9 months to get through all of this. But like I said, the very first week we launched this product, salespeople were able to book $32 million.
$2 million.
You know, McDonald's still today probably uses this solution to open up every new McDonald's they have. Starbucks went in a global contract, but we like say no. We only have evidence that this works in the US. We need to do some more discovery in other markets before we. Are you seeing? That's the mindset you have of discovery. You know, we could identify every new store opening is a good fit. Every expansion of a business is a good fit. Every big event is a good fit. Every companies that are opening up like a big grocery store, a big kind of Walmart, you know, those kinds of people. Huh? Now, in the industry of restaurant or retail type of, you have 100% turnover. You got 100%, over 100% for some. That is the number of people that start in the year will disappear by the end of the year. If you had 100, all of them will be gone by the end of the year in these industries. So you can see it's a very sweet spot. Imagine if in Dubai there are 10 locations. Are you see of this little store or restaurant? Then if you add up all of those people and you know you're going to lose, so maybe every 3 months you need to boost your hiring bench because you know people are going to lose. You know, boost your hire. So many people kind of they want to overhire a little bit, but they don't want to hire too much. So you know, there's this constant flow of using this kind of product to help boost your thing year over year. So significant, and it was easy for us to sell like that because the salespeople did not have to make up what to sell, did not have to look for a reference. You can go to someone and say, hey, you know, we got a call from a big retailer, Nordstrom, who says, I saw this neighboring store. They took down their sign for now hiring. They've hired everybody they need. We will pay you double. Send us all the good people. Send them the bad people. You know, people were fighting for like, you know, this is a great product. And it was so it's easy for you to go to KFC or and say, look, you know, McDonald's uses this to open all their new stores. Let me tell you. So you could identify who your perfect customer was. You have evidence of what it took to solve the problem. You can, you know, we didn't have to make up the marketing, the sales language, the profile. We didn't have to think in some brainstorm. We had all these answers from this. So very powerful technique to do this. And we had like 8 customers, reference customers. Actually had more than that, you know, when we launched the product, because we could identify some other industries, restaurant and retail, very sweet spot for it.
I love this story so much because usually when I ask people for those kind of stories, I always get user stories, PRDs, product vision. They start talking about those big stuff. But no, you spoke only about the problem.
That's right. This is the real work. People have to understand it. Like that is the real work of teams and the magic of teams. Just working together through collaboration, focused on the customer, focused on solving the problems. You get the right people in the room. Because the reason I know I can build it is because the engineer is with me. I don't have to submit something to engineering and say, what do we need? How do we? The engineer is every day suffering with me manually. I mean, I had interns that were using spreadsheets to manually keep all the names and are you seeing phone numbers? So an engineer knows, like, come on, I can do better than that. We can do have a way we can organize it. I have the designer is thinking, okay, mobile experience, reminder on your phone, because when we are calling up those people, they're like, oh, I don't have a car, my mom brings me to it. So you have a way to enter your mom's information so that she can get a reminder. Mahmoud has an interview. Are you seeing? So there's no way you can uncover this in some PRD somewhere. Now you have to translate. What does that mean? But the designer, they knew everything that I knew, the whole story. They've experienced it. They know what the customer looks like. You see, they were close to the problem, close to the people that had the problem. So it accelerated our discovery. Any question that came up, we could have, and we learned who our customer was not. We learned what did not work. We learned it the hard way. The whole cost of that discovery. Yes, it cost us some travel to go to where the customers were. Yes, it cost us some advertising dollars to advertise in little places. But like relative to how much money we sold, I mean, the little thousands to the recurring business from it, very, very cheap, very, very fast for what we got out of it.
How can you coach this to product manager? Because what you described is very abnormal for a lot of people. I wish I met you before when I started my product journey career, because I still be in my cubicle. I send a ticket to the designer, I send a ticket to the engineer. But coaching is very something close and dear to your heart.
Yes.
And before product coaching, you were a football coach. That's a soccer coach for my American audience.
That's right.
What makes a good football coach, in your opinion?
Oh, man. Look, I think coaching in any sport, there's a mindset of a good coach. And we always argue great products are built by great teams. That is very true. Championships are won by great teams. But great teams are made up of ordinary people. Like every great team in the world is just made up of people. Their greatness is how they come together, how they work together, what comes out of them, the environment in which they do that work. And great coaches kind of realize that. You see what I mean? Great coaches recognize that there's greatness in everybody. My job is to create an environment for that greatness to thrive. Because many people have this false idea that Amazon or Apple, all these companies, they have unicorns and rock stars, some 10 PhD magic person that came up with all the great ideas. And I have worked with many companies around the world. I have met some amazing people, almost at every company. There's like, my goodness. So it's not the people. What's different is the environment in which they do good work. You can imagine in the story I just told you, if the company was like, no, you cannot talk to customers, no, you cannot go out, no, no, you cannot ask an engineer to help. You see, so now there's a whole cultural type of mindset that makes it difficult for great work to happen. But it's a company, it's a product culture that says, yeah, we foster good collaboration. Yes, we like the mindset of discovery. There are many things you don't know in that way. So first of all, good coaches recognize their role. Secondly, you have to recognize there are two different things. Doing something is different than getting better at it. People always ask me, why you're a professional, why do you need a coach? I say, who is the fastest person in the world? You might be like Usain Bolt, or maybe there's a new person now. I say, okay, if by definition of calling him the fastest person in the world, that means there's nobody faster than him in the world. So why does he have a coach? Because clearly the coach is not faster than him. Yes. I mean, so it's not like, let me teach you how to be as fast as I am, But running is different from getting better at running. Because he can run every day. That doesn't mean he will get better at running. What a coach can do from the outside looking in is like, all right, we're going to assess all your running, your stats, how you start. There are different techniques we can try to improve that, because that 1 second will improve your stuff. Oh, you're running flat-footed in that way. That's going to hurt your knees over time and not give you enough spring. Oh, are you seeing? The focus of a coach is to do two key things. One, what they see from the outside in allows them to have holistic perspective on what you might call strategy, how the pieces fit together. The second is to get you better. That is why you need a coach, because getting better is different from doing. You can put a team of people together, put Messi, Ronaldo, just throw them in, go and do. They will struggle because there's dynamics of where's my role, how do I fit together, who is playing forward, who is backward, what is the plan, how do we attack this team. All of those things are strategic thinking that when you are on the field you can never see. So coaches are from the outside in, and their job is to get you better, and your job is to think strategically. I even found out I was a good soccer coach by accident, because I've been coaching my kids since they're like 3 years old, 4 years old, for like multiple years. On one end, they were always winning, and by like 10-0 to when they were small, and I decided to go watch another team's practice, and I started to go watch. And many people, when they saw the kids are young, they're like, oh, you know how they just run around with the ball,
Yeah.
they just play anyhow, and all of those kinds of things. And they're like, oh, good job, Mamu, like for anything they do. And I'm like, oh, I missed the mark that they were 3 years old and 4 years old.
Wow.
Like I was not treating them like kids. I mean, the very first coaching session, if you've had anybody that I have ever coached, I make them watch tape. I show them lions in the jungle, and I show the lions hunting an animal. And like when an animal is running, the lions don't all just run and chase the animal. Some run from the side, some run at this side. They're anticipating where the animal is going to run so that they can pounce. And I have things I say like hunt, and it makes them go into a hunting pattern. When they see the ball, they don't all just run to it. They start to anticipate where the ball is going to go, and they move in that pattern. So like first time I was like, because I want them to think. All I taught, every age, I focus on one thing. If they are 3 or 4, I focus heavily on decision making. What to do when you have the ball. Many children are confused. They get the ball, do I just play around? What do I do? People say, kick, shoot. So I say there are only 2 choices. You either pass the ball or you take a shot, right? If you're within proximity of the goal, take the shot. It's directionally right. If not, if you're lost past the ball. So I would teach them set pieces. So because I used to be very confused. When the ball goes out for a throw-in, all the other kids are playing and laughing. My kid already has a plan in their head. So, the first play of the game, goal. Everybody's like, what just happened? People are like, how is this? Because I am teaching kids at a young age decision making. Like I am not focused on soccer. I cannot teach you in practice individual skills. I have to teach you what to do with each other. You see? So I am focusing on the little things that makes them better. I mean, it had the best record for years, undefeated for many teams. I have a long waiting list of parents that want to join my team. And it's very hard because even good kids that are not great will not leave the team because it's a winning team. Who wants to leave a winning team? So everybody, but you're leveraging strengths of kids and you're seeing them do things better together. And I decided, I took a year off. I was like, this is, my kids were frustrated. Many of the people disbanded, they left and went to other teams. And my kids had, the worst season. They didn't win games. They felt what it meant to be like losing games. Where they're like, we're never playing again. Parents were like, you got to come back. So I came back. I took the worst team in the league. And the following season, we won the championship again.
No way, did it again.
Yeah, and that was the first time that I actually knew the value of coaching. Because you kind of think, when you take the worst team, the last team in the record, because nobody wants it in that way, and you start to see that many people don't, maybe there's an advantage. I played soccer myself, some parents did not, but we are treating the kids as kids and individuals versus a team of talented people that you need to uncover their greatness. And so I go into that with a different mindset. Create an environment for all of them to be great. Show them the power of teamwork over their individual skills. Enable them to be their best selves. And I push them. So, we're doing things that are like professional teams to be doing. Because I did not see them as 3-year-olds or 4-year old in that kind of thing in practice. And I tell people what you do in practice, you do in the game, right? Because people are like surprised. Why is the team not doing this? Well, I said, what did they do in practice? I said, what do you mean? I said, if you don't teach people what to do, create a safe environment for them to get feedback, know what's right or wrong, then how are you surprised what they do in the real game? Right? So you have to, good coaches recognize the importance of practice. Good coaches recognize the importance of understanding individual skills and strengths and coaching people to be better. Good coaches recognize that it's a team. So there are many aspects to this that I really, really think make a difference. And my hope is that more and more people recognize that in today's world, you cannot be a good leader, you cannot be a good manager without being a good coach.
I love that you're passionate about everything you do, even teaching soccer. But
Yeah.
let me ask you this. I've watched a TED Talk once, and they discussing this problem where currently in our job we don't have practice. When I'm a project manager in a company, I need to perform, and
Yeah.
no one expect for me to practice and give feedback. If I'm a product leader and I have a product managers that I'm coaching, how can I create an environment where we have practice and
Yes.
game time and performing?
Yeah, every day is game time. There's nobody that says you're building this. Oh, it was just practice. That's why we failed. We're just so. It's a big problem in a corporate environment because every high performing team in the world practices for anything, whether you're in the military, everybody practices. There's no, like, every sports, a musical band is not. Taylor Swift practices before she comes and performs. Like, it's not just magic in that way. So I always like, why are people surprised that people fail? Like, they did a bad presentation, and I'm like, okay, did somebody coach them? Did they practice it beforehand? I told them to do a good presentation. I'm like, how does that equate a good presentation? So I see a lot of wasteful opportunities. The best place to practice is before you have the job or the opportunity. Like, if you want to be a good leader, the time to practice leadership is when you're not a leader. Because then everybody gives you permission to fail. Like, oh, it's just Mahmoud, he's not the leader, so it's okay. He can do that. But when you're a leader now, people are like, I can't believe the leader did that or failed. So the best place is one-on-one. Fantastic for that. Team meetings. Many people waste team meetings. All of this, like, status updates, information sharing. No, I use my team meetings for coaching and practice. Very small portion of it for updates or kind of meeting stuff. But if Mahmoud is struggling with communication as an individual, then my whole team is struggling at communication. Does that make sense? Because he's not communicating to himself. People are complaining he's not communicating. And so we're going to practice communication. We're going to teach it, learn a technique, how to listen, how to give feedback. Because the real world, there's no patience or time. What we need him to do in the real world is communicate. You see? And nobody has the patience to teach him. That communication stuff. Let me teach you. No, we are pissed off. We have pressure, urgent things to go. So every time you pull your team together, your company, it's an opportunity to do practice. You have to have people in the huddle. You know how, like, if they are doing a play, everybody comes into the huddle and they
Yes.
talk about it. That's the mindset of good coaching. Even if the whole game plan is for one person. Okay, everybody, you can tell Messi you're going to take the penalty, kick the ball, but everybody comes in the huddle and you say, Messi is going to take the penalty. Why? Because he's dependent on everybody doing their parts. We cannot be arguing about it in that kind of way. So all of these things are practice and coaching opportunities. The good leaders seek learning opportunities. They look for it in a corporate environment. There are about 4 or 5 drivers I look for. People will learn something for the first time. Like, there's something I don't, something has, they will learn. Something has changed, they will learn. Something is broken, they will learn. More is needed, like I'm getting promoted or more is expected. So there are natural levers for when people will learn. And so what you want to do as a good coach or leader is look for that in an environment. Like, oh, Mahmoud just did a presentation, that sucked. Coaching moment, you don't go do it in private. Say, hey, we're going to have a session together and we're going to talk about your presentation skills in here. My job is not to tell you, go get better at presentation. because that will not get you better. My job is to get you better at presentation, which means you have to practice presentation. So we might learn a technique, then you're going to present to me. I'm going to give you feedback on the technique, pull other people in to give you feedback on how your presentation is doing, then get you out there again to present, get some more feedback. You see, over a period of time to actually get you better. So you need a coaching plan. That's what leaders do for their team. They have a plan to get people better at it, and they try to execute against that plan.
I thought one-on-one meetings just for venting and complaining, but you're saying one-on-one and team meetings, they could be used as a coaching.
Practice and coaching. That is the number one priority for those places. People get that wrong. A one-on-one is not for your manager. It's not for the company. A one-on-one is sacred time for the professional and personal development of an individual. That's your sacred time. People say, oh, I just want to complain. As I tell you, I say, don't get it wrong. If you're a leader in product, you're a part-time therapist. Get over it. People are going to complain. It is rough out there to be product. I mean, there's a lot of issues. You're going to hear it all the time.
Now I know why you named your new podcast, which is, I'm a big fan, by the way, Product Therapy. Now I know where the name comes from. Yeah.
That's right. It is hard. It is not meant to be easy. It's a high demand job, high stressor. You have growing customers, stakeholders, everybody. You're getting emotionally and verbally abused at least every other day for some people. So it's perfectly okay if people want to complain and vent. Your job is to remind them why they matter, remind them why the work matters, remind them what problems they are solving, inspire and motivate them. But it's not a place for status updates. If you care about the person, you will get the update. People fail to understand that. If I can go to people's houses, ask their partner, or their wife, or their spouse or stuff, they will tell me all the business of the company. They know everything happening. And I'm like, are they your manager? Do they even work for them? Why do they know about all of these things? It's because you see what I mean? They care about you.
Wow.
Are you seeing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you care about your employee, you hear all the things. People like, when do I know what's going on? What is important? Just care about the person. You will get the updates. You will get the status. You will know what's going on. Because I used to have a portfolio at a company. Gosh, we had almost 300 products in the product line. I could demo every product. I could demo every product coming. People are like, how did you learn? Did you go? I said, no, I care about all the product managers. And they come to me with all of their problems. We brainstorm together. We practice so every single thing they know, I know not because I demoed their product or worked with them on it, but because I care about the people that did it.
That is a super hack. Oh God! Let me ask you this question, because my audience will kill me if I didn't ask this. So in the UAE and KSA especially, there aren't many entry product roles, and there are no organizations with the structured associate product manager programs. This makes it so challenging for individuals to break into product teams and roles. And most companies are looking for experienced product managers or senior product managers. What advice would you give those individuals trying to enter the product field in such an environment?
Well, it's everywhere. It's not the UAE. I mean, my son wants to be a product manager now. He despised the whole product manager thing his whole life, but he wanted to build an app for the first time, and then he's like, "Is this what product managers do?" It's like, "Yes." Like, oh, I remember the first time he wanted to learn about product management. He's like, "Dad, which book should I read? Should I go?" And he's like calling everybody else but me, and I'm just like,
"Oh,
wow."
come on.
And he had a coach and a mentor teaching him. He's like, "Man, oh, Mr. Tony that taught me is so smart and brilliant." He said, "Mr. Tony, where did you learn how to do product?" He said, "Your dad?" He's like, "What?" you don't get any respect in your own house in that way.
That's so funny.
It's very true. So, but when I think about it, kind of what I have challenged him to do in kind of getting better at product, I've always said, one, you have to practice the skills that are needed in products. If I were picking between many inexperienced people, the stories are what compels me about them. Like, I would take Mahmoud if he has tried to build a product before, if he has failed 20 times, than somebody that has gone to school and tried to learn product management. Are you seeing? So I tell people, go volunteer at places that build products. Go find internships on your spare time. Try to build an app. Find a problem yourself that you're passionate about and try to solve it. Because what you gain from it is relationships, and you will get experience that will help your story. Because you say, you know what, someone will say, you're not experienced in some stuff. What have you been doing? You say, well, I saw a real problem with people getting to work. I decided to solve it. I built this app and this stuff, or with 401ks. I tried to do, man, it sucked here, but it made this person. Now, what are they knowing? They know you know how to work with engineers. They know you know how to tackle a problem. They know you have agency. They know you understand, how to get some research. Are you seeing? But if you don't have that story of those experiences, then somebody is thinking to themselves, I have to teach you all of those things. I have to, and the real reason many people look for experienced people is because they don't have good coaches to coach you to be good. So they want you prepackaged to do so. So I love a lot of go try to your hands at your own startup. I'm not even saying go be successful at it, but go try doing your own startup, volunteer, gather stories of problem solving. So participate in your local community or something, or a group, join somebody. So there are many online things where people are solving problems. See if you can join them. Like say, hey, I want to help with this. What can I help with? It doesn't, people miss the point. It does not have to be good. It doesn't even have to succeed. If it succeeds, good for you. You might even you might have even created your own job or your own job offer. But many people sit stagnantly waiting for the perfect opportunity to train them and skill them. And I said, find problems to solve and work with others to solve it. However you can get, that's easier than finding a job.
Oh, wow.
You see?
No, yeah, I totally agree with you.
And you'll be more attractive to the job because you can do the job. Because you've
No, absolutely.
demonstrated doing the job than when you did not. It's like, so it's everywhere. In Africa, there are many communities. I am building a product leadership accelerator in Africa just for that reason, where I'm going to put people through a 6-month intensive program, place them in companies like an APM program. And I'm doing that for all of Africa so that I can, because my goal is to build good product leaders and good product companies, because then they will train and coach good product managers who will in turn build good products, who in turn will create good companies. So I'm all about accelerating the ecosystem. There are some great product companies coming up in Dubai or in the UAE. And those companies, what those mean? They have good product leaders that will coach other good people who will now build good products and become good product leaders. And that cycle will continue. You need more of that. So I like accelerating that in the community so that more people have an opportunity to learn how to do good product work. But in the absence of that, man, you've got to go volunteer, go participate, or try to solve your own problem.
Let me ask you this question. You're like the third product leader you originally was born in Nigeria, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're like the third product leader that I met from Nigerian descent. And I have a lot of people in my community from Nigeria. People ask me questions about product leadership, product management, ask me a question about their product. I just want to understand why, especially in Nigeria, there is so much thirst for product managers, and they're so resourceful. They're just so resourceful. They're amazing people.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is most of Africa has this. It's always been a creative society. Like necessity is the mother of invention. If you see all the creative ways we've solved problems in the absence of any form of technology, it has struggled. Africa has struggled with innovation because there's not access to technology as much. And I think, when I tell people like, look, we've got like less than 30% of Africa on the internet, and we have 8 unicorns that have come out in Africa because of we have so many. To solve a problem is hard in Africa. You have to solve many problems. So many people give up. They focus on making money on the problem than making money from solving the problem. So what's happening is that many people are discovering the important power of technology in accelerating the technology. That has led to demand. They have never been short of creativity. Like put somebody in a very tough situation, they will get creative. Their mind will, I have to survive. Survival will prompt you to be creative. So they have a lot of creative problem solvers. What hopefully the product management discipline is doing is accelerating how they use technology plus that creativity to create magic in Africa. So many people are recognizing, I think, even within Africa,
Yeah.
the power of the creative mindset they've always had and how they can bring it into problem solving. So they are very, very smart in that way. And unfortunately, it's like hard to see like suffering as accelerating their creativity, but that's just survival in some ways that have made them creative. So the discipline is picking up in Nigeria, picking up in other parts of the world because they are recognizing the demand for it, and they are recognizing they have some of the natural prerequisites for good product managers. Meaning, if you ask me what makes a good product manager, I will say like emotional intelligence, collaborative, problem solving, critical thinking, agency, good time management, perseverance, and grit, right? So you can think about people in tough environments, they have that hustle. They have that, they are critical thinkers. They have grit. They can push through hard. They don't get upset when some stakeholders said no or something like they push through. So they have some of the raw ingredients already for it, and if they combine that with the knowledge, the techniques and stuff, they can do good work. So I've seen that, and even Matty Kagan came to Nigeria with me last year, and he fell in love with the people, with their mindset, with their attitude. And we even had a young girl that was like 11 or 13 years old or something in our training. She started her own company, helping people. I mean, blow your mind in this. And Maddie's like asking the same questions that a product manager at Google asked him. He's like, so when you see that kind of stuff, you just get really humbled by the whole thing. And my hope is that we do more in those communities to help.
Oh God, man, I can see your passion. Talk about it. I mean, oh God, we're out of time. I still have like more than 20 questions, but we definitely need a round two. That was an
Yeah.
amazing episode. Oh God, I was so excited for it. Do you want to direct our audience where to find you? Where how can we be helpful for you? Even your ventures in Africa as well?
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you for the offer. I mean, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I do talk about some of my work in Africa. I have a fund, so I look for the ways I ask people to help. I say first, invest your time, meaning volunteer to mentor somebody, be a coach to somebody in Africa that wants to learn product management, that wants to start a business. Everybody has something they can offer. So you can volunteer your time. You can make an introduction to people that you think want to help in Africa. And with accelerating the use of technology, you can always donate to any of the things we're doing, whether it's building schools or providing education to people to do that. So you can go to innovateafricafoundation.org or innovateafricafund.com to
Okay,
learn more.
I will link them in the comments. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you.